What's going on, people? My name is Batman, and a complete overhaul of the matchmaking system in the new Call of Duty would be a simple yet highly effective way to dramatically improve the Call of Duty experience without altering the core gameplay fundamentals that define this game in its fans' eyes. As the population of players available for multiplayer matchmaking has grown larger and more diverse in its audience, their playstyles and preferences, and as longtime fans of the series have matured, causing their objectives, pleasures, needs, and abilities to evolve gradually, though sometimes rapidly, it is important that the system which matches these players, which defines the very playground where we are steadfast in our competitive merrymaking, evolves with us, is to encourage the typical player in a Call of Duty match to aspire to a greater cause than the self. In its current form, Call of Duty promotes selfish playstyles above all else. Winning a match in Call of Duty isn't fun. The reward for victory is largely meaningless, and I would even argue non-existent, and has been that way for years. People want to go 50-10 in every match they play, even if that means losing the match itself in order to achieve that goal. And that's because Call of Duty has actively preyed on people's worst traits. Call of Duty has become an endless pursuit of high KDs and killstreaks, because those are the things that COD has made entertaining, and that COD rewards the players for. If you camp really fucking hard and get a 10 kill streak, you get a Griffin, and that's a lot of fun. But if you play the objective hard and win the match, what do you get? A fucking number in your combat record that nobody even cares about because they're busy judging your KD instead? The result of this backward mentality is evident, self-defeating, and ultimately self-destructive. Very few players want to play the objective now, and the players that do then feel silly at the end of the match when they realize they got nothing for winning, all while serving as cannon fodder and free kills for their enemies who went 10 KD camping the B flag. It's also the kind of mentality that continually encourages players to try and form up in the strongest party possible, not to win games, but to stomp the public matches, continually beat up on other players who cannot hold against a tide of 6 separate 2KD players. And I speak from personal experience because there was a time when I was the greatest pub stomper on the globe. But of course every pub stomper feels that way, don't they? And that's the point. It's stroking the ego, self-validation on a video game. And of course this partying up problem eventually led the developers to implement the strictest possible competitive matchmaking rules in the history of gaming to ensure that parties got stuck with parties and strong players got stuck with strong players, which is of course understandable. They had to protect the majority of COD players from the over-aggressive kill whores who systematically set themselves up in positions of invincibility in numbers so that they might use Call of Duty like a twisted drug, pumping up kills, not because they care about winning, but because they like the high they get when they get lots of kills and call in kill streaks and see their high KD at the end of the match. They wanted to have as much of that high as possible, all that at the expense of weaker players or simply players not in a party. As the parties got stronger and the kill whores more ruthless, greedy, and douchey, Call of Duty had to continually implement even stronger casual and or noob-friendly game mechanisms in order to protect them from full parties. And the result? Call of Duty Ghosts, a game that revolves entirely around camping so that a weak player might set up shop with IEDs in some fucking building and suddenly become invincible. Maps designed to be so large and cluttered with so little structure that spawn traps would be impossible, but the downside of course is that nobody enjoys playing on maps like fucking Siege, and thus the developers overcompensating for players who overindulged in stacking the system through parties and spawn traps in their favor has now broken the fucking game, hurt the franchise, and put into question the future of Call of Duty itself. All of this could be solved if COD simply took steps towards incentivizing winning instead of rewarding selfish behavior. And incentivizing winning would be simple. First, the developers have to acknowledge that most people don't pay attention, which is a sugar-coated way of saying they do not give a fuck about the match bonus. Let me repeat myself. Nobody gives a fuck about the match bonus XP being higher when you win. The win itself, the act of defeating your opponents, should be valued above all else. There should be unlocks that can only be earned through racking up a certain amount of wins. The final weapon unlock in every gun category, such as assault rifle, SMG, LMG, etc., should require a certain amount of victories. There should be a whole variety of player cards, emblems, or whatever other customizable unlocks they use that can only be earned with a certain amount of wins. The gold camo, diamond camo, whatever the highest gun camo is, should have a required challenge that involves something like winning 30 matches using this weapon for a majority of the game. People's win-loss ratio should be displayed right next to their fucking gamertag in the lobby. and then they should order the list of players from top to bottom, with the highest win-loss player up at the top and the lowest win-loss player down at the bottom. I know it sounds dumb, but I'm telling you, as someone who has been the most selfish and worst kind of pub stomping player in Call of Duty before, it's about ego. And when those of us who have had that kind of self-validating behavior in us have adopted that mentality in-game, it is all about our ego. We want the other players to respect our stats. We want them to recognize that we are better than they are. It is important to us. It is the most influential, underlying, motivating factor that encourages pub stompers to pub stomp. It's about other people's recognition of the cock. If you put the highest win-loss player on a pedestal, if the developers can take a stand and say this is the best kind of player in the game, the selfish players will fight to be on that pedestal because it's about self-validation. And if you incentivize winning, and if you make sure to reward and place philosophical value on winning, every match will be more entertaining. The most entertaining matches are the competitive ones, and the only people who don't feel that way are pub stompers that only take satisfaction out of being the best. And usually winning means sacrifice, sacrificing KD, sacrificing kill streaks. Things that people look to when judging someone's skill, and if they are the best. If COD can make winning more exciting and meaningful than people's KD ratio and their kill streaks, people will start to play to win. And when people play that way as opposed to reveling in selfish glory at the expense of others, this game can be great again. A positive force in people's life, a tribute to the world, as opposed to the shit black hole monstrosity bringing out the worst of people in every match that it is now. And it's gotta be more than just giving people points toward their kill streak for capping, because then the kill whores still only cap the safest flags and the objective players don't feel stupid for playing the objective, and that's a step in the right direction, but it's gotta be more than that, baby. It's gotta be more. We will take our game back, but we must rise to the occasion. Thumbs up if you're ready to revolutionize the way you kill people online with bullets from your gun come between nice wet titties. This is Batman signing out.